Guys, thank you so much to all 31 of you who are here so far, especially you, Tiffany and Josh. Welcome again to the Lead Gen Underground. We're going to really pack it in today. I got lots of questions for you guys because I know you got lots of knowledge. Guys, these guys have their business super fine-tuned, and I'm really excited to talk a lot of the KPIs with them today. KPIs are something where, in my experience, a lot of people get caught up. And then instead of starting to measure, they run away from it because it just becomes too complex. So I'm really excited to get your guys' take on it and basically how you do it in your business. Can you give just maybe 30 seconds each on what you guys do in the business and about your business a little bit so everyone knows?
Yep. So I'm Tiffany. This is my husband, Josh. I operate more as like a CEO, and he operates as a COO, managing and leading everyone on the sales team. So I handle raising money. I handle all the marketing systems. Elena, who's actually in the room next to me, she's our operations coordinator. So I work really closely with her on, rentals, rehabs, projects, all that kind of stuff. And then
I manage our sales team. Right now we have 5 people on our sales floor, 2 different positions. Each person fits within one of the 2 different positions. We'll dive more into that. So we have morning meetings and weekly meetings with our team, collectively and individually, to help hold them accountable. That's where a lot of these metrics will come into play that we'll talk about today. And then I also run our contractors on the renovations that we're taking on.
Oh, you do? Wow. That's amazing. Okay, fantastic. I mean, we can start wherever you want. I talked to Tiffany before and said maybe we should go to talk about some of the marketing KPIs. Yeah. And then, talk about some of the KPIs that drive employee performance, or maybe the other way around. So we can start with whatever one you guys would like to.
So what I wanted to do is drop in or start with just like straight content of KPIs that literally we had last week. Because just to show you like what a week snapshot looks like for us, and I'm not going to get into every major KPI we do, but one thing, just to kind of give you an idea of our volume, we have 30 houses in the queue, 600K. Last week we did almost 100 grand. So like, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at as a company. So today I'm going to focus on some really key metrics that we look at that lead into his metrics on the acquisition side, and how he's holding people accountable based on very clear expectations. So like he said, right now we have 2 full-time acquisition managers and 2 follow-up specialists, which he'll tell you what those are. And then we have a new hire who's in training who will be, everyone always starts as a follow-up specialist and then we turn them into closers. So no matter what, that has to happen. So technically we have 4 people, on the phones live because one's getting trained. So last week, just if you want to write this down, I had 44 leads per day on average.
And that's Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
44 per day.
Yep. And all of those are weeded out, guys. So like, we do cold calling, RVM, texting, Facebook leads. Those are our 4 primary big campaigns. And so in order to get in our queue, someone had to have raised their hand and say, I want an offer, I want to talk, whatever, to get into our queue. We had 6 contracts, 90,000 in very conservative projected profit. 5 of the 6 contracts were passed off from a follow-up specialist to an AM to close, which is a key metric that we'll talk about. And I'm going to spit these off really fast, but my first contract the lead was 534 days old in my system. Second contract, 50 days. Third, 1 day. Fourth, 136. The 5th, 2 days. Another one, 40. So an average of 130 days old, which means we touched them obviously multiple times, which is 4 months on average. That's leads to contract from last week. So what story that's telling you that Josh will get into is, 1, the follow-up specialist role in our company is like top priority. It's so much easier to find someone and throw in that role and train them into an AM versus trying to bring in someone and think they're going to be a closer in 2 weeks. 2, the key thing is like 5 out of 6 contracts were passed off from a follow-up specialist. So that means that my closers who actually know how to close are making money. So one of my AMs last month, I think he took home like 12 grand or something, and he's only been here, this is his 3rd month, or 4th month, something like that. Anyways, so anyways, our goal is that the people that know how to close, they're just getting pass-offs all day, closing deals that actually want to go through the process. And then again, like the other key metric is that a leads to contract in our system is an average of 4 months old. So like when people ask me about what lists are big, all that kind of stuff, we probably have 4 or 5 different follow-up systems in our like overall system internally. So how often we're following up with them, when, who is, how are we following up with them, call, text, whatever. No lead is left untouched in my system at least once a month. And, you know, we have 12, 13,000 leads because we've been doing this for a while. So just to kind of give you an idea that when a lead gets in your system, I see so many people touch them maybe 2 or 3 times, or someone says, I'm not interested, and then someone deads it. Like, we have people that told us to F off 6 months ago that we just landed, you know? So anyways, that kind of leads into his metrics and how he's running his side and how they're structured. But I thought that last week was like a really good week to show you how important follow-up is.
So just to recap really quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh, you had 1 lead that was 1 day old, 1 that was 2, but then you had a couple over 100 days old.
I had 1 that was 534 days and 1 that was 136, 50, and 40.
Okay. So only a few in there, guys, were lay down deals where they came in and bam, they're ready to go. The other ones, they're winning on follow-up.
Yep.
Right. So those were actually, majority of those, like she said, 5 of the 6 were actually passed off from our follow-up specialist role. And I want to just talk about that a little bit. One, the whole reason why we got into this, like Tiff mentioned, one, this is a very easy position to hire for and train on because it's very simple. You don't need to be a master closer. You don't even have to have sales experience. You just have to be able to talk to someone. The whole point of the role is to bring people back to life, essentially. So all these people that may not be ready to make a decision today, hey, that's perfectly fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set a task to call you later. And then what that does is that goes to our follow-up specialist role, and their job is to be scraping the bottom of the bucket, so to say, and bringing these people who are interested back to the top and putting it in front of the closer. My perfect scenario is that these guys that are really good at closing, who have been doing it for a long time, who have the sales experience, who have the knowledge, and know all of the psychology behind our sales process, I want them only focused on working with 5 to 6 people a day who are ready to make a confident decision, right? And then making offers to those people. And what we've seen is right now, I think an industry average is somewhere between like 1 of 20 offers to contract or 1 of 25. We've heard that from other gurus in the industry. So we're actually down to 1 of 5 right now within the last 30 days. So for 1 of every 5 offers that our team makes is a contract.
I love it. That's amazing. And so when you guys say follow-up specialist, basically the same thing as like a lead manager?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, lead manager. Yes. They are getting people on the phone who have been in the system.
I wouldn't call, they're not a lead manager. Are you talking about the follow-up specialist?
Yeah. So what's
everyone has a different definition of a lead manager, and they're not a lead manager.
So what would you, Josh, help me understand what
They're
you're
called
talking about?
follow-up specialists for a reason.
Okay.
Sure.
I just want to make sure, because some people have a lead manager view that like they're, I don't know, but they definitely don't manage leads.
Okay, so I'll tell you, in my business, we have a lead manager and then inside sales agent, right? Essentially the same thing, but they're the way they work together, I think. But they're basically talking to all incoming leads, filtering down to opportunities, someone who has an elevated level of motivation, passing that off to our ISA, who's then focusing on closing that deal.
But are they passing it off live?
No, not live.
Okay, we do all of ours live.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I would definitely do that live.
The reason why we did that, originally we did not do live pass-offs, what we call a pass-off or live transfer. And what we had seen is if someone said, hey, so-and-so is available, they're ready, this is a good opportunity, they're not going to be available. So right now it's 4 o'clock our time. Can they call you at 5:30? And then they set up a specific time. 70% of the time when we call that person back at 5:30, they don't answer the phone. So now, since we have them on the line, they're ready to talk, we're just going to do a live transfer right now. But yeah, I think the biggest piece too is they're not just sorting out new opportunity. The role is mostly focused on the follow-up calls, older opportunities, not so much what's new.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the workflow of that follow-up specialist on a day-to-day. I know they're following up, but can you talk a little bit about the KPIs and the expectations from them?
Yep. So we used to manage mostly on a dial count. A lot of the systems that we have now is we're more focused on the number of pass-offs. So what we've seen is if each follow-up specialist has 4 pass-offs a day, and each one of those gets an offer, then they should be contributing to at least 1 deal a week. And that's really their expectation. So then really from there, that really drives the number of processes that our acquisitions team is having. So we want our acquisitions team to have 5 to 6 processes a day. And of those 5 to 6 processes a day, there should be 2 to 3 offers that come from that.
Okay, awesome. On the acquisition side, I'm getting really bad feedback and echo from me. Are you guys hearing it as well? Okay.
No.
Okay, on the acquisition side, how many or what KPIs are you expecting, or what KPIs drive their performance? Is it just strictly offers and contracts, or is it something else as well?
So it's strictly going to be based on, I want to know how many processes there are. So when I say process, I'm talking about how many people are they taking through our entire script on the first call, right? So how many people are you taking through the whole sales process? And then from that point, how many people are you making offers to? And then what we're seeing for every 1 of 5 people that they make offers to becomes a deal. And that's all, on the back end of things as their leaders, we're tracking how much are they contributing in profits, essentially, is at the end of the day what we really care about. But we understand that processes, offers all lead to deals, which leads to the profit piece.
Amazing. So on the acquisition side, how many of those processes per day are live handoffs versus older leads that maybe they're following back up on?
So I would say,
That's not something we exactly track, so we wouldn't have like an exact KPI for it.
I do not, but if I were to guess, let's see here, I'd say it's probably close to, it's over 50%. I'd say are probably passed off from our follow-up specialists.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
What technology are you guys using? What call systems are you doing to have that live handoff?
So we use smartphone within Podio, and we've gotten some custom features built out in GlobiFlow. And so the big thing is having, and there's obviously tons of phone systems out there. The important thing is for me is that I want everything to be internet based. I don't want anyone on their cell phone. I don't want anyone calling through CallRail, none of that stuff. Because you need to have all of your calls recorded and stored in your CRM. So that way, when you go to lead people, manage them, train them, or say that an AM talks to someone today and I have another AM follow up in 2 months or 6 months, they see the train of communication over time and can have the recordings, etc. And then the biggest thing is really just leading people based off of it. So like, once a week, Josh pulls any, sporadic calls in his one-on-ones and coaches him through, did they follow the process? And so that's one big thing of what I look for in a phone system. It also needs to be able to transfer them live. It needs to be able to allow you to do a whisper or barge feature. So like when Josh hears someone making an offer, he can either, there's different features. So he can whisper in and talk just to the AM. He can jump into the call and say, hey, say this next, say this, and a seller won't hear it. Or the AM can say, hey, for credibility, Josh that owns the company is right here. Why don't I bring him on the call for whatever? And then he can barge in and they can both be on the call for credibility. So these are just different things that I look for in a phone system in general. And then also, I think I shared the story last time, but about 1.5 years ago, I had a miserable experience, managing everything. And I told myself, how do I get people to be more productive, make more money with less heads? And one of them is dials. So like, if I have AMs only making 1 dial at a time, you'll never keep up with volume, because now my AMs, it's not even a metric, because they can make 500 to 1,000 dials with the phone system we have internally following up with leads. So like reaching people is never a problem.
That's awesome. I guess you guys are using the smartphone like campaign dialer as well?
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then we've custom built all the campaigns out.
And that's a big reason why we don't necessarily track the dial count anymore. It's more about the quality conversations. I want to know how many quality conversations you have, and of those conversations, how many turn into offers.
Yeah, that's amazing. So where does your follow-up specialist leave off? Like, where's the end of the conversation for them and then the beginning for the acquisition?
So it's very, very simple process. And we learned this the hard way. Originally, we tried to have them take over majority of the process to really try to qualify it. And what ultimately ended up happening was the follow-up specialist would start to build rapport, build a relationship, and then they would hand it off to this closer who then makes the offer. And the seller's like, who in the world are you? I haven't talked to you. Where's the other person I've been working with, right? And it failed. We didn't close a single deal doing that. So we took a step back and said, how can we make this as simple as possible? What's the bare bones information that we need to know in order to qualify this lead? So it's very simple. It's 3 basic questions. Do you want to sell? Do you have any interest? Why do you want to sell? What's your motivation? And how much do you want? And from there, they pass it off to the closer. It's a live transfer. From that point forward, they take them through our full script, which is a 6-step process. And then, we go on to the next call if we see fit.
That's amazing. I like it. Okay, I know you guys had a little bit of flow that you want to follow. So where would you like to go next, where I can start peppering you with some questions?
Let's see here.
Who's asking questions? RVMs, question mark, how much do you pay for the role? The follow-up specialist for us is $2,000 a month. If they pass off a lead to an AM that gets closed, the follow-up specialist makes 3% and the acquisition manager makes 5% on that particular deal. We have 1 AM that's virtual. I personally don't believe in having a team virtual and managing them from afar. So I'm a little bit against it.
Let me kind of chime in on this. I agree 100%. And the reason for that, when I'm in the sales room or on the sales floor, I can hear everyone's conversations. So if there's one thing that may have been said in a way that could have been tweaked to be that much better, I can make that adjustment immediately on the spot. Versus when you have a team that's virtual, you don't hear these conversations unless you go listen to every single call. And the reality of it is you're not going to listen to every single call. So to truly manage and to truly set your team up for success, being in the same room as they are and making those changes on the fly that's what's going to set your team up for success and ultimately your company.
So I'm not saying that you can't be successful virtual. I think though that you'll be more consistent with your success by being in an office, and you'll be able to build culture and manage energy that way.
For sure.
100% agree with you guys. I found this out a little bit the tough way through the coronavirus pandemic when it first started here. I just hired 1 acquisition manager. I had hired 2. 1 ended up quitting, but it was really hard to get good rapport between us and build that energy. And like Josh just said, you can't hear the things that they're saying wrong. Whereas if they're in front of you, you can quickly correct and get them back on track. That's one thing that we found to be very, very true. And our deals just quickly skyrocketed right after we were all in the same office again. So I 100% wholeheartedly believe that to be true. It's really solid advice there. Okay, cool. Guys, what are you spending? How many deals are you guys approximately doing a month?
We put like 3 to 5 in contract minimum a week.
Yeah. Close 12 to 15 a month to actually close.
That's awesome. And what approximately is your marketing spend?
It was at $12,000 a month. I think now that we just hired someone, we're probably going to creep up to the 14 to 15,000. That includes the cost of VAs. So everything like from list, skip tracing, obviously all marketing campaigns, and then the cost of VAs is in my marketing cost.
That's awesome. Really good to know. And what kind of return are you seeing on that? Like 3X, 4X, 5X?
So we're typically like this month, we're going to close like 200 and something thousand. So what I'm a big believer that you have to spend like 15 to 19% of what your expected revenue is. So if you want to make 100 grand, spend around 15. I see a lot of people in the industry, especially that even come through our program that I just got off a call the other day with a good friend in the industry, and he might have a month where he does 80 to 100, and then he'll have a month where he does 20 or something. And we broke it down to figure out what's going on. Well, what's going on is that you're not spending enough in marketing. So like if you can't invest, not just invest, maybe 10 grand this month or 15 grand, but it has to be month after month after month. And then what the nice thing is I haven't increased my marketing for a very long time until recently. what I've increased is just follow-up specialist heads. So I have so many leads in the system that it's not necessarily about increasing marketing anymore. It's about keeping up with the follow-ups of the leads sitting in the system.
That's so my buddy Jesse Burrell from Batch, actually, that was one thing that really kickstarted us probably 8-10 months ago now, when I was like, dude, Jesse, it's been my goal to get to 6 figures gross a month for like a year now, and I can't hit it. What do I do? And he's like, well, how much are you spending in marketing? And I said, oh man, we're pretty low. We're like $5 to $6 grand. He's like, well, there's your problem right there, dude. You're never going to get 20x returns on that marketing. You got to go out and spend 15 grand in marketing probably. And boom, 4 months into it, that's what happened. So it's really solid advice there.
And it's a big, I think, so systems and acquisitions go hand in hand. Obviously, like if you have great systems, you need closers. If you have closers and you don't have the right tools, they're eventually going to leave. So that's like that's just one thing we learned last year, was like, that's all we hone in now, is leading people on the acquisition side and being ultra consistent on the system side. And as long as we're having very clear expectations of these people on a daily basis, like our acquisitions team, the systems, as long as we're spending the same amount, every month, we're keeping things flowing and having leads coming in every day, then it's super consistent. But that's why, like, I think being virtual adds challenges, because it's really hard to get people to be consistent when you're virtual.
Josh, that's a great point. That's one thing that we had to make the same mindset shift ourselves. There was a point in time 2.5 years ago where we had someone approach us and basically say the same thing that you were. We didn't want to spend more than $2,000 a month. And that would be like every other month, and they're like, you're never going to grow. You're never going to build a real company if you can't get past this and look at this as an investment, right? Trust the systems, trust the processes, invest, and stick to it. It'll happen. If you are truly making the calls, truly having the quality conversations, truly following the process and making the offers, the deals will come.
You're absolutely right about that. I had my buddy Jason Lewis out in Salt Lake City probably 3 months ago on here, and he said, I asked him what the biggest difference was between someone who was, just getting in and kind of floundering around versus someone who's out there crushing it. And he said, it's absolutely marketing, but when it comes down to it, the people who are crushing it have high confidence that the money they're putting into marketing is an investment. It's going to come back 3 to 5x. It's not a question. They know it's going to come back, so they're confident in putting it in up front.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that the next big thing is, I see Clark's on here. He just came to our event. So I've had a lot of one-on-one mentors. I've been in a lot of programs. I think something that's missing in the industry, and why we try to focus on this a lot, is it's one thing to become a good AM yourself and understand acquisitions. It's a whole nother level to lead acquisitions. And if you're not doing, weekly one-on-ones and monthly performance things, clear-cut KPI expectations, going over those every day, training at the same time every single day with your team, these are the types of things that are going to create consistency. And if you're not doing them, then you shouldn't expect someone to be consistent if you're not consistently leading them, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
You can't expect to just put scripted at this person perform. It doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely having clear-cut expectations. Go back to when you first hopped on, you said you were going to talk a little bit about follow-up and follow-up automation. Is that something that you guys are utilizing as well?
Yeah, we do a lot of, we have the smartphone dialer, we've got texting automation for follow-up, we've got manual ways we can do follow-up. We're actually at a point now where follow-up that I'm actually trying to make sure we're not over following up, which was never the problem before. And we just have every AM has a different way in which they operate. Like some are more systems oriented, some are true salesmen that hate Podio and all that. So we've really learned how to adapt leading each person in the way that they need to operate, if that makes sense. We have one AM that has a really good way of how she sets her task for follow-up, all this kind of stuff. I have another guy that literally just hates Podio. So we have a whole nother way that we have trained to help keep him on task, because you can't, those are types of things where you have to be somewhat adjustable and figure out how to come to their level and how they operate the best and get the best out of them. and not have like everything be exactly the same for everyone, if that makes sense.
That's leadership right there.
So it is hard to do that, I will say. Like some of it is, you know, very systemized, and some of it we have to adapt to how other people operate.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone asked about contact rates. They said earlier they're not really measuring contact rates. They're measuring more about the processes and quality conversations.
So we do have contact rates in our system, but with the phone system we have today, it's not like a metric that makes the difference, if that makes sense. Like processes, offers, all that kind of stuff are the key metrics. Now, if something's off, so if like I go 3 or 4 days and I don't have a contract in my company, my KPIs I keep track of today say, hey, Tiffany, go look into what's going on. So then those are the things I'm looking at. So one thing I learned being a corporate leader before doing this was, as the owner of the company, you should be able to know what's going on in your business in one page. And you shouldn't overanalyze all these other metrics. And what that one page should do is tell you a story. And if something looks off in the story, that's when you go dig into the details.
That's really good. You're kind of reading my mind, because I had on here, if you're away on vacation, you and Josh are away on vacation with your new baby after this, and you could only get, you had no cell phone service, right? And the waiter is your only lifeline to your business. And he has a little cocktail napkin, and he can put on there a bunch of KPIs, right? And that tells you the health and the story of your business while you're gone for like a month. What are those KPIs that you want to see?
Let me ask you this. How regularly are we getting this napkin?
Once a day.
Once a day. Cool. All right. That's perfect.
So this is what I want to know. How many leads? So I actually get emailed this every day because I don't come in as often anymore. I have a email, which I can show you, that my VAs send to me every day. It tells me, what did I spend yesterday? How many leads did I get yesterday? How many processes do we have, and how many offers and contracts? Because that alone is enough to say, do I need to make a phone call and talk to somebody?
That's amazing. Guys, I want you to know like how quickly Tiffany had it like that, how she already has it as a process, and how they already have it dialed in. So one of the key things that I've learned about KPIs going back is that when someone, presumably some of you on the call, are just trying to get started measuring something in your business, you look and you see a blue ocean. You think, oh man, there's so many things I could measure. Which ones do I measure? Well, the key thing is you just need to start, but really find out which ones are the drivers in your business. So Tiffany just told you guys, it's the dollars that you spend, the leads, the processes, and the offers and the contracts, right? So it's got those 5 things right there that are drivers in their business. Very, very simple, and she's got it down like that. So I just want you guys to know that. Okay, on disposition metrics. That's a good one, Evan. Good one. What are your disposition metrics? Contracts written and accepted and under contract to close. What are your average days from contract accepted to under contract?
Okay, so we don't wholesale every deal. So we're not like strictly wholesalers. When we were strictly wholesalers, our metrics were a little different. So we don't track as much anymore of like once I get a deal to how many days it takes me to sell it, because I'm rehabbing probably 70% of the deals now. So now I'm tracking, I do have all those in my KPI spreadsheet. I have to bring them up. I don't know what they are on the top of my head. Elena might know if you bring them up. Close KPIs. But you have to remember I'm rehabbing 75% of them. So now I care about my lead to contract to close on the first close, and then how many days contract close 1 and like the first close to the second close.
Sure.
So on average, how many days, once I close a deal, am I taking to rehab it and sell it? These are all, I have a little bit different metrics than if you're just wholesaling something.
Sure, absolutely. James is asking about some lists. What data providers are you pulling lists from?
So I get asked that a lot. So this is my personal advice after doing this for 3 years. If you're pulling big lists, and by big lists, I mean like high equity, I don't know, ones that you pull like once every 6 months or so. So I actually believe that you need to pull from a different data provider every single time, because every data provider gets data from somewhere else. And what I learned by doing that is I keep a master list of all the data I pull together. and my VAs do this. And so when I go to another data provider and I say, hey, you know, here's the criteria, here's my master list, what's the right word? Don't give me any duplicates. So then when they send me, 50,000 more leads, I'm like, holy shit, my last provider must have not had access to certain data. Now, when it comes to courthouse type data, what I call distress data, which is like, your probates, pre-probates, inheritance, evictions, those types of things, I've been pulling from the same provider since day one, honestly, because I've never been let down. Or I pull that directly from my courthouse. So if your county provides public data and can send the list, and not every county does, but you got to look into that.
Electronically, right?
Yeah. And then I have a data provider, and then I also, different niche lists that some people don't think about are like water shut off. Every county is different. Call your water company and say, can I get access to everyone that's not been paying the bills, Citricato, things like that.
Very good. Cool. We're moving on. We're at the 30-minute mark already. Are there any other KPIs that you guys would like to share, even from maybe the construction side or anything like that?
That's a whole nother topic, but
Don't even worry about that.
Yeah.
We don't really have a whole lot of metrics. It's more of just how I'm managing the tasks on a daily basis.
Okay, cool.
So
One other question.
the ones that you said, if I were gone, that's what I asked myself a long time ago. So my daily email keeps it to like a one-page story, and then that's when I dig in.
Very cool. Okay. Maybe you know this off the top of your head, but just from the deals that I've seen you guys post, Tiffany, like on your personal page or maybe in like wholesaling houses daily or whatever, I've seen that you guys are acquiring, in the 2 range, and then it's like 30 in repairs, and then you're selling in the mid 3s, right? That's a really good spread. What is the typical situation where you guys are buying a house like that?
So every house in our queue that we are rehabbing, we typically don't actually touch any house over 275, 300 ARV unless it's in a really good school district. We've happened to be targeting school districts recently, so we've had quite a few. We don't touch houses that need permitting in the rehab. We don't do guts. We do full cosmetic. I mean, we'll do roof, furnace, AC, all that kind of stuff, but a rehab never takes us more than 4 weeks. So for us, we never want to be holding a house for longer than 3 months, like from, purchase, rehab, sale, close, etc.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
Really.
the typical situation that we've seen lately would be like a tenant occupied house, an investor just getting rid of a tenant occupied house, or even people that are still looking to move. I mean, they may not have been the most motivated, but their picture perfect scenario was compelling enough to make them move from the house they're in now to go to another place, whether it's a nicer neighborhood or get the family in a better home with a better school district, things like that. So.
Sure. That's really awesome. Last question. For someone who's newer and doing deals inconsistently, or maybe they're just doing like 1, 2 a month, what do you think are the most important KPIs where they should start to focus?
Leads and offers, I'd say.
Offers.
Yeah.
I actually I talked to 3 people yesterday who aren't necessarily, they're doing like, they're averaging, 10 to 12 deals a year or something. And they're, just so blown away at why they can't do more. And my first question is, well, how many offers did you make this week? And he's like, I don't know, a good week for me is 5 offers. Well, how do you expect to get a deal if you're not making offers every day? And then another key thing is, and I don't know if it's really a metric, but you got to know how much money you're trying to make. If you don't understand the end goal, you'll never be consistent. So like, are you trying to make 80 grand? Are you trying to make 100? Are you trying to make 150? Because you can't plan marketing or systems or anything if you don't even know what kind of money you're trying to make. So like, and every time I ask that for someone that's typically doing 1 deal a month on average, is they have no idea. So it's like, yeah, it's a dream to make 100 grand for that month, but like, do you understand what it takes to make 100 grand? It doesn't just take one person, it takes a team. And if that's really the goal, then great. Then you need to commit to that and put a plan together on how to get there, because what you're doing today will never work. And we actually talked to someone a couple days ago who used to do like 10 to 15 rehabs a month and then decided to go to wholesaling mainly. And so, you know, he's been there. He's already made 100 grand a month, whatever. And he was just like, I don't understand. Like, you know, my AM's only done 3 deals in the last, you know, however many months, all this stuff. And I'm like, well, how much money are you spending in marketing that you think that you're going to make 100 grand in a month? And he said 2 to 3 grand. And I'm like, well, there's your first problem. And 2, you don't even know where the money is being spent. So there's a lot of different things that you need to look into. It's really important, I think, at 1 to 2 deals a month, that if you don't know how to get to the next step, which we didn't either, that you are leaning on someone or a system to get there and sticking to it. Like, don't float around and try to implement 5 different things, but like, you need someone to help you get there and invest in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Such solid advice. And so I know you guys do some coaching, and I know you do some events, and I've heard just such positive things, like Clark, who's on the call today. I think Clark actually found you guys from like one of our last calls and then came to your boot camp, right?
Yeah.
And Clark keeps messaging me and saying you guys are awesome, and his business is doing awesome. Just for like a second here, talk about whatever you guys have coming up, coaching or events or whatever it may be.
Yeah, so we always have a lot of people come to us about our systems. So we typically have a monthly, what we call like a virtual training group, and we give out all of our systems live. So we do it every Thursday live, and then we record them all, and we give away all of our documents, follow-up content, SMS content, all that stuff in there. And we also give you access to the VA company that, or introduce you, I should say, to the VA company that we use, because they're a big part of our success. And then September, I'm not doing it, but I have all the recordings, so I've still been giving people that. And then we have an event, a 2-day at our office that we only let like 12 people come to, 12 to 15. And we normally do it every other month, but we're only having one more this year in December. And that one is where we really go over like how we're leading acquisitions, and we're doing it live in front of you at our office, so you can see how are we running a one-on-one, how are we onboarding AMs, how are we training them, what does our days look like, what are the expectations, because the virtual group's setting you up to have the right tools, because you can't really bring more people in if you don't have the right tools for them to succeed. And then you really need to understand, how do I lead them to use the tools the right way? And that's, but those are the 2 main things that we do that a lot of people ask us about.
That's awesome.
And
So
Clark,
guys,
both of them.
if you can't tell that these guys really, really, really know their stuff on such a deep level, on the systems level and the operations, I mean, they just know it inside and out. And one of the fastest ways to fast track your success is to lean into someone like this. You can either spend your own time in your own marketing and figure out what works, or you can lean into someone else and figure out what's worked for them and just copy it into your business. So I'm a huge proponent of that. This is the 3rd time I've had these guys on here, just because I know they know their stuff and they're adding such value. So I would highly encourage, if any of you guys are interested, to really reach out to one of them. What do they, DM you or something like that?
Yeah, or you can or they can reach out to you, and you can make a 3-way introduction if you want, one or the other.
Sure.
So I know that they're in your group.
Sure. It doesn't matter either way. They can reach out to you as well. And Tiffany and Josh are both in the group. Such go-givers. Guys, we've gone way over. We're at 4:40. Is there anything else you want to add before we go and get back to your day?
Nope. I just think that, you know, the biggest thing I've seen of people reaching out this last couple weeks is, you know, you just have to be consistent with offers and processes. Like, if you aren't making offers every day, you'll never be getting deals every day. So I can't stress enough on, you know, the follow-up process, and then being diligent about making offers every single day.
One thing I say to our team all the time is trust the process. Follow the process and trust the process. It works. It's consistent when you're consistent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for being such go-givers. You just dropped a whole bunch of gold on everyone here. Guys, I hope you picked up a few things that you can copy into your own business. Reach out to myself or Tiffany or Josh, you know, if you're interested in their event, because I know it's worth its weight in gold. Guys, thank you so much again. Hope to talk to you soon, and good luck with the baby, Tiffany.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks for having us.
Hey, talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye, guys. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
All right.